Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Smite Pro League. Tom Battinger here next to Anatoly Alexeyenok. And it's the beginning of the end. 6 weeks of competition mark our spring split, and this is the beginning of that 6th week. We'll start off in Europe. First of all, Toly, how you doing, man? How was your weekend?
Really good, man. My weekend was great. I got to play a few card games here and there, and then, really just relaxed and unwind with some of that orange, golden Pico tea leaves.
I was going to ask you about your tea, obviously. Tea time with Toly back in an interesting sort of fashion. Make sure you check out our Esports Weekly on Mondays at 11, which, of course, airs both on Mixer and everywhere else you will get your video game action. Right now, we've got our fantastic features, most notably the 2 aux cameras. You can watch Deathwalker and Adapting today as they take on their opposition right along with them. And you can check that out alongside the stream. So one of the cooler things, I think, happening with Season 5 as we make some new moves, new sets, and new features as well.
It's always really important to kind of get into the mindset of the pro player to see what kind of works for you in your own gameplay, and this is your great chance to do it.
Well, as we watch these Titans come out, Titan no longer with us, but 6 teams from North America, 6 teams from Europe have battled it out over the 6 weeks. As I said, double round robin, which means everybody plays each other twice. This week we'll be featuring some of the round matchups from week number 1. And of course, these are best of 3s. Finally, we get a proper victor.
And it's very important now for both of these teams to kind of overcome the opposition here because, like you mentioned, this is the end of the road here for these teams trying to battle for that 1st and 2nd seed to get into the LAN.
Today we're starting off with Rival and NRG. Both teams really trying to go ahead and make it to that LAN. There's 3 teams, I think, fighting for contention there to make it to LAN. And those are just 2 of the teams. We've got 12 in total, and you can support all 12 of them here by buying into our Smite Team Badges Season Ticket 2018.
Trying to figure out here is Rival. They're struggling a little bit here, 1 set behind NRG. So this is their one chance to really get to their heads because in the week number 1 set, they found the victory. Then can they do a repeat performance here in week 6?
Well, it certainly will be an interesting look as we take a look at 2 of the games that we'll be playing. As I said, it's going to be Rival and NRG starting us off today, and then we'll take a look at SK and Mouse, the battle of the bottom. And then over there on Thursday, we'll continue our European matches. And then Wednesday, tomorrow, 2 NA games. And then Friday will be the final time that we see these players in regular season contention.
Those Thursday games here between Obey and Rival and then Obey and Dignitas are very important because there's still some contention here for Obey Alliance to squeeze into the top 2. They're not mathematically out of it quite yet.
Technically still available. In fact, let's take a snapshot. Let's take a look at the snapshot for Europe right here on the bottom. NRG sitting pretty at 7-2, but Rival and Dig tied up there at 6-2. And you had mentioned Obey Alliance 4-4, kind of splitting the pack.
So if Rival and Dig were to lose out here and Obey were to win out here against Dig and Rival, then they would all be kind of tied at 6-4. So there would have to be some tiebreakers at the end of all that shenanigans.
North America obviously has some fun stuff. Space Station is sitting up there on top. Now, this screen is also very important. We put all the teams together, 12 teams total. And the plus or minus is essentially wins minus losses. And of course, that can be negative in the case of SK Gaming. And when I say wins minus losses, I mean individual games here. Teams are going to qualify based on their record. Very simple. The one that we showed before. So the top 2 teams in each region will make it to LAN. But however, when there's seeding for that LAN and in the event of a tiebreaker, this is where we default to.
And trying to figure out where, which each team stands is important for once they do finally arrive at the LAN. It's not just about where you do in your own individual region, but how are you going to battle against that cross river.
Of course, we've got NAEU, and we're going to see a number of international teams sort of throughout the year. Very exciting. Of course, we usually do the SGS during the morning, so all of these broadcasts are certainly things you want to take a look at. So Rival versus NRG should be an interesting one. How are you feeling about this matchup?
I think it's always going to be about the jungler versus jungler matchup between these 2 teams here. You got Adapting on one, you got iceicebaby on the other, and he's sort of adapted here towards the heads of NRG, always finding ways to get the pacing of the game. And I think in this one, iceicebaby needs to start off strong in order to get another victory compared to week 1.
I mean, it's a jungler-driven league. I really don't care if Finch won the fight on our Monday Esports Weekly show. I think the jungler is one of the most important roles. Adapting has been really important for this team going forward. And that said, he's just one part of what makes NRG so good. There are 3 teams currently fighting for 2 positions in the European land spectrum. Right now, NRG leading the charge. 7-2 coming into week number 6. I think these guys are a little bit more comfortable than everybody else here. This team continues to surge as the split ends.
And right now with NRG at 7-2 record, if they could just win this set, that's it. They're qualified into LAN.
Nice and comfortable for these guys. Long-time competitors, of course, 2-time world champions. Couldn't get the three-peat last year as United kind of surged ahead, but they've made some changes. EmilZy in the support position has looked fantastic this split. Came in without really missing a step, and I think that's the most impressive part, is the fact that these guys came through, made a change for the support player, which Raffer's been playing on this team for years. I mean, I casted them in the Challenger Cup. And then they switch out their support for EmilZy, and just like that, yeah, no problem, not a big deal, we'll keep winning. That was the surprising factor.
Well, when you have ambitions kind of like EmilZy does, and the raw talent, and then you just add that on top of the whole NRG supporting cast, it's no question to me as to why he kind of has that easy fit inside this glove of NRG that, you know, has the Season 2 and Season 3 victories under their belt, wasn't as successful in 4, dethroned by Rival, but now's their chance for redemption here in Season 5.
Yeah, watching these guys play has been really just a treat. I mean, every single time NRG comes out, they look pretty good. Adapting has not been as consistent, I think, as some people wanted him to be. But when he does come out, he comes out really, really hard. And I think the most important part is that he's at least consistent from match to match. Individual games, he might sort of flounder a little bit. But when it comes down to it, big old Kenneth comes through and finds the bounce back almost every single time.
I think Season 4 was not as jungle-focused as Season 5 is here, so I definitely expect him to be making a lot more flashy highlight plays, a lot more of a selection in the God pool for him to really start flexing his guns as well.
I love to see him on the Circuit. I mean, Circuit, one of the more flashy guns. This right there, that's not all adapting. That was a hot play coming out from the from Terra, just leaving the walls up, blocking them in. And I think that's probably a nice microcosm of NRG, where adapting is doing all the flashy, dirty work during that highlight. We watch him on the tower. He's zigzagging through everybody. But then at the end of the day, the entire team comes together to surround somebody and give adapting the kill. I think that's really representative of what NRG really bring to the table every time.
And that's why they're so successful thus far here in Season 5 with this impressive record.
Yeah, I mean, these guys 7-2, clearly just one fight away from clinching. But they're up against one of their fiercest competitors. Team Rival's going to be really tough. I spoke to Alpha Jackal. You can catch out the VOD of Esports Weekly again, where I spoke to him, and he mentioned how really it's all just about getting back into the swing of things. Coming up runner-up at Worlds, Rival's still really strong, and they've been working out through some of their issues.
I definitely agree with you here. They took it to heart, I think, their loss to United. It's not something that they're used to, dominating the European scene for as long as they have in the Season 4, which is funny to say when you look back at them in Season 3, but they definitely grown and evolved here in Season 4, and I think that was their roadblock, the North American United. I think that still sitting at 6-2 here compared to NRG and Dignitas, very formidable opponents here, but I think that once they go into this international land, what can they take from it here if they qualify?
I mean, that's one of the bigger questions that people are asking, but one of the questions that have already been answered is the style change for Rival. This team has historically struggled online and then performed at LAN. Well, this time, everything seems to be coming up Millhouse for Team Rival. Team Rival. The Purple Urkels do not have their wins low. These guys are 6-2 right now, fighting for that second place position. Maybe even first if things fall for NRG, but they are neck and neck with Team Dignitas. Rival need every single moment to work out perfectly in week number 6.
Well, looking really good here, I think, at the beginning of Season 5, like you alluded to here. Their online versus LAN performance, I'm still really curious to see if they can repeat their Week 1 performance, finding the victory over NRG, which put them off to a great start momentum-wise. I think their mentality just kind of grew from there, which is why they are so successful. That's really what sells it to me, Toli, is this win over NRG. If it should come. This team, you know, we've seen teams kind of step out of the shadow before and then fall back into it. If Rival can consistently be this team that's
numero uno or close to it in the regular season, that's going to be the litmus test for me saying, look, Rival has beaten their ghosts. They're gone off their demons. They are just as good online as they are offline. And part of me is kind of hoping for that, honestly, because this team plays with a lot of flair. When you see them at LAN, they really turn up. And now with just the top 2 teams making it, you really want to see these guys perform and do well. Players like Deathwalker on this team make these guys exciting to watch. I mean, he's got a fantastic KDA there, playing out of the solo lane, really making an impact for the rest of his team.
And it doesn't really matter who you kind of put into the equation. And when you discuss the members of Rival, Deathwalker definitely the flashiest one, considering that his god pool is so eclectic. He likes to play some shenanigan stuff every now and then, and what makes him such a scary opponent to go against, because it's difficult to pinpoint the direction of where he's going to go. So it's more important to figure out your own team strategy and don't necessarily worry too much about what Deathwalker wants to do, because he'll do it all.
He understands the method behind the madness. When you watch Team Rival play, like you said, they've got a lot of oddball strategies and things. And talking to a lot of pro players, when you ask them to break down why they do this or why they might do that, a number of them will say, "It just works. It's what I'm good at. It's what I feel." When you talk to Deathwalker and ask him why he plays Opwash solo, or why he brings out Chrono solo and lets Vote play the Kamazot's ADC, his answer is very nuanced, and he really goes into the ins and outs of matchups and character advantages and timing windows, and perhaps most importantly, the matchup knowledge. When your opposition is unfamiliar with the matchup, there's real value in that. And Rival has been really successful in playing their game like that. Picks and bans for game number 1 should be interesting. And the question I pose to you, Anatoly, is what are you expecting out of these two teams?
I'm expecting a lot of focus around Vote. I think NRG might try to single him out here because of how aggressive he loves to play in Season 5. No matter what god he's piloting, he will normally opt for the blink at level 1. And he's looking for those flashy plays. So maybe NRG will look at that, look back in their VOD in week 1 and be like, all right, it's time to work a little bit harder in that duo lane.
We've also seen Vote play picks like the Kamazots, which is very, very aggressive, quite obviously. NRG going to bat out a couple of mid laners away from Wlfy, who I think could continue to be the focal point for Rival's opposition. Isis and Ra, 2 of his choice characters, banned out. And Rival going to ban out 2 more choices for Team NRG. Terra, which is one of EmilZy's favorite characters, and Serket, one of Adapting's favorite characters, but that leaves Janus open for the mid lane.
No problem for Yammyn whatsoever here, having so much mobility. Nemesis will be the selection here for iceicebaby, not expecting that to really go solo or support.
Looking at that Nemesis and Achilles here, looking at the Yammyn selection is funny, because I had mentioned how Rival or team looks at 2 specific players, and you're like, oh, you know, Yammyn's got it, fine, no problem. NRG and Rival are 2 teams that have 5 variable all-stars on their teams. And so when you do look to ban out certain players, you're like, oh wait, Yammyn was world's MVP once upon a time, and we let him get his choice. There is no safety here.
That's true. You know, keep in mind, Season 2, they had the Soul skin. Season 3, it was the Chrono skin. It didn't even matter that emilitoo had it, the MVP in week 3, because Yammyn can also play it very well. And picking the Janus just goes to show that NRG are thinking about the mid to late game portion here. That's why Sobek was selected here, probably for maniaKK, making sure that he's not going to die to the Achilles early on.
Sobek has been one of the more powerful selections here in Season 5, and I don't think Sobek is rising to the top of anybody's tier list. I don't think he's going to be first pick, first ban, but I think Sobek might be one of the most powerful choices in the grand scheme of things.
So you say that, but I guarantee you at LAN, we're going to see it being first pick, first ban.
You know what? I think you're onto something. Sobek has been really powerful. First round of picks all over. Artemis, the late game hunter for Rival. I love this, and I'm going to ask Toly to speak on it after we think about the bans, because again, NRG looking at Wlfy. 2 more mid laners that he likes to play leaves the Thoth. 4 mid laners banned out by NRG, which leaves the Thoth. Not a misprint. Rival banning out some hunters.
Well, Discordia and Nuwa are a lot easier to play in executable than a Thoth is anyway, so maybe they want to put more pressure onto Wlfy. It's like, hey, listen, all right, we respect you on these guys, but what can you really do with the Thoth if we put a little bit of pressure on you?
I love the Odin, and I think this might have been NRG's sort of game plan, was that we've seen Odin just recently really be very powerful against the Thoth guys out there. Like I said, kind of recently, but once we saw Thoth just get locked up and crushed, that's kind of been the go-to against the bird.
It definitely seems that Rival are in a good spot late game if they can make it there. They got Nemesis, Thoth, Artemis, Fafnir to synergize.
Yeah.
I like Rival's comp, but NRG, they're very mobile with a Janus. This could go either way.
I'm worried about the Odin, but discussing with Alpha Jackal, he said that Wlfy, coming into the season off of some poor performance on Poseidon, had trouble with short-range characters. So he defaulted to the long-range Rot and Thoth. I think Wlfy just might have gotten more comfortable with this selection. Is the Odin going to be enough to control the Thoth?
It definitely can, and I think that NRG might have a chance in the early game.
I think this is one of the more even matchups on paper and even on the battlefield. And to take us there, we've got the commentators.
Thanks so much, Tom and Tolly. And yes, we're ready for this one. NRG up against Rival. Obviously, the Odin's going to be the first talking point, I guess, more than anything else.
Yeah.
Rival are trapped in that ring if it does come down.
I love it. NRG, you can tell, had a plan from the very beginning that this Odin was going to be on the table. You don't leave up Nemesis Achilles without having some sort of game plan against them. And Odin is the perfect one to do it. Odin locks in 4 of the 5 characters that Rival have drafted. But that last pick, Fafnir, I think is perfect because it gives Kalos enough safety on his own that he can get a Phantom and get everyone out of that Odin cage. I think Rival's draft is amazing because you've got plenty of early game between the Achilles in that solo lane and then plenty of late game with the rest of their picks, basically, that do great in the later stages. If I'm on NRG, that's the lane I'm worried about, is the solo lane. If that Sobek, which I'm assuming is going to go there, is going to be able to hold that lane, then I think NRG have got it. But if Rival can get pressure and let Deathwalker be the dude to carry them into the late game, I think Rival are going to keep their record against NRG.
Who do you guys in chat think are going to win this one? Vote in Mixer chat now, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on. Big thing, though, is that basically this is kind of do or die for both these two teams here today. With NRG earlier on last week, I should say, losing to Obey, that put them in the spot where they would have been okay if they lost this game.
Yeah.
Now it's a different story, and Rival, they need this victory too.
Man, you cannot take a week off right now in the SPL because every game is so important. Yeah, everyone thought that Obey game was going to be free for NRG, but now their backs are against the wall. This is their only game this week.
Exactly.
If they lost this, they would need some help on Thursday, and those are some pretty lopsided matchups on paper coming on Thursday, so they really need to win this game if they want to come to land.
Let's get into game then and see how game 1 begins between these two. It's a best of 3, as always. Let's start and see where things are going to begin. I saw a poop emoji. That's what the first thing I noticed when we came in.
Oh, perfect. That's the perfect start to this setup. No, I think,
Thanks,
yeah,
ML.
there it is. ML's got it on the jump stand. That's a nice
Oh, we
little
got
jump
told
stand.
off. We can't say ML anymore.
Why
Because
not?
there's 2 MLs.
Okay, it's EmilZy
We gotta,
and emilitoo.
should we just call them 2 and Z? How about that?
2 and Z.
Yeah, that works, right?
I don't know. I think that calling emilitoo Emil has been a long-standing tradition.
I agree.
And no one's called EmilZy Emil on broadcast. I think we're safe.
We'll be fine.
I appreciate the feedback, but I don't care.
Ooh, look at you. Spicy on a Tuesday.
Hey, man, I'm trying to just do a little bit of savageness myself, trying to learn from the master of the savageness, you. I think it's going to be fun.
Ooh, that's a close vote. Only 6% difference, I should say, between the two, slightly hedging their bets for NRG. I can see that, though, with this Odin, like, and how this composition will run. Thoth not... And some of that was the counterbalance. We were talking, like Tom mentioned, like, Thoth was left up.
Yeah.
Thoth was left up on purpose because guess what? The ring kind of shuts him down.
It does, and so does Dodgy. I
Dodgy,
think that's the
yeah.
big thing, is that he doesn't have any CC immunity. Dodgy can chase him down pretty well with that Trickster Spirit. Nuwa, Discordia both have ways to get out of that powwow without having to use Purification Beads. I think that's the primary reason why Thoth was left open. I think NRG wanted Wlfy to take it.
Well, Wlfy as well, though, is having a fantastic season so far since the World Championships. He's come further along, even more so than where he was last year. Playing the top today, he should perform to a high standard we're used to seeing. Looks like he's going for the Book of Thoth Rush, potentially. We've seen a couple of Soul Reavers, too.
Yeah,
It's
could
gonna
be
poke
Soul
well.
Reaver. Could be Soul Reaver here to just try and get that early game going in his favor a little bit. I think Wlfy's been playing at a higher level than just about any other European mid laner. In my mind, it's been him and Yammyn who have been the top 2 mids so far in Europe. So I've been really excited to watch this matchup again. We haven't seen this since week 1, where Rival continued to beat down on NRG. Rival hasn't lost a set to NRG in over a year at this point. It's been incredible to watch them play each other.
Adapting, going to go in for a bit of wave clear and a nice bit of poke too, but not getting overly aggressive. Neither of the junglers are here, really. Just farming, giving respect to their opposition. And that's kind of what we're going to expect in the early stages. Looking for a small advantage, and if you don't find one, play safe.
Both teams going to opposite mid camps. It really is just completely even right now. And that's, again, it's just these two teams have had such close sets. Even though Rival has consistently ended up on top, It's been incredibly close in just about every time they've played. It's never really been a blowout for Rival. It's always been down to the wire, an incredibly close set, and that's what I expect here again today. If this set goes 2 games, I'm not going to eat soap, but I'll be very surprised.
But what is the difference then? What is the difference making? Because I guess obviously NRG haven't recognized it so far when they've been going up against Rival. Like what the difference is that why Rival make it out on top all the time.
That's what's so hard about playing against Rival is that it's never the same dude. It's never just Deathwalker has great sets. It's never that Wlfy hard carries every game against NRG. It's that everyone is really consistently giving them problems. Honestly, I think that Kalas has consistently given Rival a lot, or NRG a lot of problems in the picks that he has gone for. His Athena has been really consistent against NRG over their time against one another, and I think that we may see that again here today with this Fafnir. But Rival is just a team of 5 players who can win a game for their team at any given time, and that's the reason why they were 2nd place last year at Worlds. They're very versatile.
Well, 2 different types of solo lanes. We watched that Ricochet bounce off the wall into vote twice there. 2 different types of solo lanes, a Guardian and a Warrior over there. The Achilles up against the Sobek. Both these solo laners will be bringing a slight difference in what they bring to these team fights.
Very much so. Sobek is the ultimate team fight controller out of the solo lane. He brings good damage, great control, and is unpeelable. You can't get your carries away from him. He does too much in making it so that he can't really be peeled. But Achilles is the premier pressure solo right now, at least with what we've seen lately at the pro level. He's been the guy along with Kukulin to pressure out the solo lane consistently. And that's why I was saying right before we got into this game, this is the matchup for me. Rival has great late game, but they've got to get there, and it's got to be on the back of Deathwalker to get there. If he can get big, if he can consistently invade blues, take away the XP camps, get a level lead over maniaKK,
wow.
Sobek from Even is going to out-team fight anybody, including Achilles. He's got to be behind if Rival wants to shut him down.
You mentioned the level lead, but you also saw the Deathwalker a little bit further behind in experience right now. maniaKK's been 5 for a few moments, and Deathwalker still needs a couple more creeps and gets them to hit level 5 himself. So a small lead there for the Sobek at the moment. Sobek's so good at just stalling out the lane, though, so even all that pressure in the lane, it kind of comes to naught if you can't find anything from him.
Exactly, and that's why he's so good right now, is that he's not going to hard lose any matchup. You have to really put the pressure on him and outplay him in order to get that pressure back in your favor. And Deathwalker going for the sprint here is a nice change of pace, because most of the time you're seeing the teleports.
Dargy on the left-hand side going aggressive now as Odin goes in as well. They're looking for Vote if they can find it. He's only got an Aegis, remember, so he comes back on a wild ride, as does Callus. Chop Suey's on the table, and the Dwarf will fall. Double kill, both of them go to emilitoo.
And I love that decision from NRG to camp the left-hand side, because maniaKK isn't going to have your pressure on the right. Deathwalker's got sprint to keep himself safe from the lurking in the waters, but Vote goes for the Aegis instead of the beads, relying on that ultimate of his to give him the CC immunity against adapting. Well, he's only level 4, so doesn't have that CC immunity. Perfect timing for that gank from NRG, and perfect execution as well. Double pull.
Also notice Yammyn picked up the speed buff and took the harpies on the right-hand side. And iceicebaby wasn't around the left, but he doesn't manage to steal anything in the jungle other than that blue buff.
Ooh, ultimate though onto Yammyn. Should be able to get into the wall soon, but may have used the portal just to get here. No, he will be able to escape, and there goes adapting straight onto iceicebaby.
No ultimate this time round though, so they won't get overly aggressive. Wlfy lurking in the wings there, as you can see, for Rival, just in case. And even Callus and emilZy was slowly making that rotation. But blue buff was stolen by Rival in response to the kill. It's not as much as they would have liked though.
It's not as much as they would have liked, but it's baby steps. It's getting Deathwalker that pressure that is going to be so important in this game, especially whenever your dual lane gets double killed at 4 minutes in. You've got to start making plays on the other side of the map early, because right now dual lane is where all the junglers are spending their time, all the pressure is really being exerted. So if they fall behind early
maniaKK
on...
is in a bit of trouble on the right-hand side, getting tower dive now by the looks of it. Has to lurk in the waters too, but he will get away.
So now you've got that situation where you don't have your ultimate now as maniaKK, and Deathwalker does. So that is a window of opportunity. iceice's ultimate was down. Remember, he used that onto Yammyn on that blue buff invade. So if I'm on Rival, I'm heading right back over here. But look at where adapting's heading, straight back to the left.
And so is Yammyn too. Keep an eye on those portals coming through. Sun's rain down. Vote uses the boar. Gets the stun off on emilZy, but the ring came down in time. Adapting will pick up the kill. The trap didn't do much. and no rotation out of Rival yet, but they will look for the speed. You can see the pings going down on it already. Janus back in base, has no ultimate, so space and time and an option to try and get back and defend.
So Ice before went to the blue buff because speed was already down. This time he's able to pick up the enemy speed buff to at least get something. But I love the adjustment that NRG has made, and this is kind of why MOBAs are so fun to watch and so fun to be a part of. Is Ice should be okay here, still has that double dash. You just have that ability to change up your strategy and adjust to what other teams are doing so well. Artemis and the late game hyper carries have become much more prevalent recently, and teams kind of struggled against them for a while because it had been a while since they played against them. How do we punish this properly? They feel so strong. Well, NRG says, that's fine. Pick your Artemis. We're ready for it. We are just going to go for a composition that can really punish you in the early game, and gods that punish Artemis in particular, like Daji, you really can't get away from her, like Odin, can't get out of that Odin cage. This is a great draft from NRG, and it feels like they knew exactly what Rival was going to take from pick 1 to pick 5.
Yammyn in the mid lane, working towards the Warlock Sash next. Wlfy still working on either the Soul Reaver or the Book of Thoth. We'll find out later on. With the fact that he's gone for Shoes of Focus, though, it does kind of spell to me maybe Soul Reaver.
Yeah, I think it will be. Wlfy's really been a fan of these cooldown boots right away in almost every god that he's been playing lately, just relying on that base damage that he's getting, because Collis doesn't split a lot with Wlfy, and neither does iceicebaby. Some teams are starting to put their supports more in the mid lane to get their ADC a little bit more farmed, to try and accelerate them towards the later game, because the early game for Hunters is pretty weak right now. But Rival hasn't really made that adjustment. They're saying, we're cool with Wlfy being the dude to get us ahead and make the big plays. And so that's why the cooldown boots into Soul Reaver can work out, because you're not going to miss the pen as much. Plus, he's playing Thoth. He gets free flat pen just from clearing waves.
And it does seem to be the adjustments. I mean, this started at the start of the season where a lot of players were kind of just holding off on getting farmers supports anyway because everyone was complaining about him being there. Deathwalker getting very aggressive on his own here, and with that, it's going to cause him to have to ult defensively. As soon as that first one triggered, he immediately ulted to make sure he couldn't get pulled in.
But Deathwalker wanted to chase out the ult there, because that's an opportunity now where Wlfy and Vote, the two gods without either beads in Vote's instance or a CC immune ult in Wlfy's instance, that don't have to worry about that dodgy ult for a little bit of time. Deathwalker is intentionally baiting his ultimate out there in order to trade. I like that call.
emilZy ran on this right-hand side, nothing to really take, but they might be looking for a bit of a play on iceicebaby. maniaKK was given chase for a second, nothing to be just now, although speed and the back harpies have just come up. emilZy's on those back harpies. Is maniaKK going to clear the wave to try and get a rotation quicker over here?
Ooh, through space and time comes through, but emilZy might not be able to get into that portal. Body blocks are good enough, but Wlfy's right there.
And now around the corner, Adapting was there to watch, but no ultimate for Adapting. Remember, we saw maniaKK. Sorry, Deathwalker burned that earlier on, I should say. 3-1 then, as emilZy just got a little bit too gung-ho. Had some support with him, but it didn't pay off.
Man, I noticed that earlier, too, where he chased iceicebaby all the way to the tier 2 nearly.
I love that play, though.
emilZy is playing very aggressively right now, but this is the time to do it as Odin, because you still feel like you can do more damage to just about anybody on the map and take the damage as well. A little bit over aggressive, but I don't mind the idea.
A little bit of a play around the goal fury. Now it's mainly for the oracles at the moment, but there's all the ward vision is for Rival around this area. Lots of red wards down. This is kind of an answer to seeing Adapting on this left-hand side a bit more.
Exactly. If Adapting doesn't come over to the left side twice in the first 7 minutes or so, I don't know that Rival is as keen to make sure that oracles go down in their favor. Oracles are the best thing that you can get, and wards are right there with it to make sure that your duo lane Artemis is going to stay a little bit safer. But the scary part now for Vote is that emilitoo is far enough ahead at this point that he's really in solo kill territory anyways. I mean, check it out. Vote has not even finished off his Devourer's gauntlets quite yet, and Emil's nearly done stacking his. Then you factor in the level lead, plus he has that great 1v1 potential. I don't think NRG really need Adapting to come over to the duo lane anymore. emilitoo can do it by himself.
So the pressure is in mid. Adapting takes up on the parallel, looking for pressure onto Wlfy, who beats away to safety. emilZy gets pressure but jumps away, but the ball came out and slapped into Adapting's face. Vote gets credit for that kill and that rotation. emilitoo just a little bit too late.
I like the idea by NRG, but Vote's rotation proves to be perfectly timed, because Adapting went for Blink at level 1, was going to have to wait until level 12 until he got the purification beads, and that's a risk against an Artemis that's going to guarantee a stun with her Caledonian Boar.
Not always guarantee.
Gary, you got the cone now. I mean, it goes in that area.
It still makes his own mind up most of the time.
It does, but the Trickster Spirit is enough of a wind-up that it shouldn't be able to get you out of danger as long as you are the priority target. And that's why Rival Nem ults emilZy to force him to jump away so that adapting is the only priority target in range to make sure that it prioritizes him. Taking out that variance, or just in case it doesn't go to the spot that you want it to. You're either killing emilZy or you're killing adapting in that situation. And killing adapting is the better call because he was farther ahead. He's the jungler compared to the Odin support. Good team play by Rival.
Magi's cloak being worked on now by Vote as well. Some of them are seeing a little bit more out of the carries. Obviously, it means he doesn't necessarily have to go beads, I guess, with having the Caledonian Ball, which gives him CC immunity, and the Magi's cloak. Do we maybe see the blink come out from the Artemis here?
Maybe. I think that these next few levels are going to be very important because if Vote doesn't back right at level 12, maybe sticks around at 13 or so and just kind of waits to see how the pace of the game is going, and Rival can get off to a lead all of a sudden in those few minutes, maybe we see him go for the blink, but I can't imagine that's the right call. Against a team like NRG, they're going to be able to punish you so heavily, but Vote has proven that he has no fear. There's not an ounce of fear in that man's body when it comes to who his opponents are. He can he's willing to make insane levels of plays with of aggression with that blink. He's been going blink at level 1 with some hunters, so it really wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think it's optimal. I think beads for the safety is the right call.
And talk more about itemization as well. It wasn't the Soul Reaver. It will be the Book of Thoth, although he looks like he's working on Soul Reaver next, so partly right. Educated guesses aren't always correct. You know, they're educated, but they're still guesses.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta. There's always the ability to switch it up, and like I said, that's the beauty of a MOBA like Smite. In this situation, Wlfy prioritizing the more consistent damage throughout all his abilities than just that initial burst.
Well, that little play coming out from NRG there, just slowly whittle them down so Yammyn can get it with the unstable vortex, nice and clean, not have to worry about potentially losing one or the other there. Adapting going to get the right and harpies here. Pressure in mid for Rival for a second, who are just going to limp back into their own side of the jungle. But emilitoo looking for a little bit of a hot ricochet in the jungle, as always, like all Hoyies love to do.
Yep.
They can find a cheeky pick, maybe on Vote here, who's going to get bird bombed.
Yeah, there's the cage as well. Sun's come down. Vote is dead to rights. Yammyn is going to get credit for it, but it really could have gone to anyone on NRG with all those ultimates coming down for Vote.
And some of that is actually the timing that we saw Rival head back into their own jungle. They cleared the wave and backed away, and 2 or 3 members of NRG saw that in the mid lane and thought, you know what, let's have a look at the left-hand side. Let's see what's available. Oh, look,
wow.
cheeky kill.
Vote does go blink. And I guess it does give him an opportunity to get out of Odin Cage, where if he sees emilZy start to bird bomb towards him, he can turn around and blink away in time.
Oh, ultimate charge by Wlfy. The Judgment is ready. Judgment off, and it hits emilitoo, but it's not enough for a kill. Pyromancer does end up resetting, adapting in the sky, looking at Wlfy. One more of those chains may get him a kill. In the end, it'll just get the beads out of Wlfy.
Oh, but emilZy chased pretty deep for that kill. Wlfy's going to be able to get out of there, but I don't know if emilZy will be able to. Fatal Strike is good from Deathwalker.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it is. I learned that yesterday.
You did?
I
Good
did.
job.
Taco called me out. She was, because she said that I always know the ability names. I didn't know Achilles 2 or alt.
Do you know them now?
I do.
What's the 2?
Radiant Glory.
Oh, it is Radiant.
Yeah.
There you go. Well done.
I think I call it Showtime though. It feels like Showtime.
Do you just sit at home between casts and just go through ability names?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Back in the day though, whenever I was first trying to get into the casting scene, which was not that long ago, I suppose. I did have my friends quiz me
Oh.
on those. We'd sit in queue and they would quiz me. It
In
was fun.
fact, when I started, I learned most of them, if not all the ability names, at least the basics of them and the names. But then, as time went on, I just made up my own ones. It was more fun that way.
It is more fun that way sometimes.
Not like the Hughesy style of washing machine or something like that. That's too far.
No,
you
yeah,
know?
you got it's got to be in reason.
Yeah.
Of course. I think that if there was like one of those Sporkle quizzes on God ability names, I'll bet you I'd get at least 95%.
Oh,
At
wow.
least.
The challenge is on. I'll have to see if that works out at some point. Level 15 for Yammyn now, and NRG with this small lead. It's only around 1,000. The experience about the same, I should say. Gold actually half of what I expected. But they're starting to set up around the gold. Their burst in the gold is actually pretty solid. They do have the Hou-Yi. They do have Yammyn on that Janus too. But they've got to be careful of the final judgment.
Exactly. That's the best steal potential on either side.
That's Thoth's ultimate, by the way. I know that.
Oh, wow. Nice job.
Just thought I'd let you know I can do them too.
You know his 3?
Wall. Wall of OP-ness. That's what we'll call that.
No, that's not what we'll call that.
That's what it is, though.
It's the glyph
Doubles your range.
It's a glyph of pain.
It does give you pain, it's true. Wall of OP-ness. That's the same thing. emilZy going to get hit by the hammer. Nice ricochet comes out from emilitoo, though, onto Callus to answer that back. Oracle's going to go the way of NRG. NRG definitely the aggressors so far, and rightly so with this Odin.
They've got the slight lead, but it's very slight at this point with Odin on your side. And as we mentioned, the late game for Rival's probably A-OK where this game has gone.
Sure.
But these next few levels are going to be critical on that left side of the map because the difference in power right now between this Yi for emilitoo and Vote's Artemis is staggering. Vote went for the Magi's cloak, so he has very little damage in comparison to emilitoo's Executioner. Plus, Vote's not even done stacking quite yet. He's only a little over halfway there at this point.
Twice now, Wlfy's listened to the cast, I know he is, because we said Soul Reaver, he went Book of Thoth. Then we said, okay, this is going to be Soul Reaver, Book of the Dead. Yeah. I'm not going to predict it again because Wlfy's just going to troll us. Wow. It's not worth it.
Ice throws the ultimate onto emilZy just as a deterrent, just to make sure that he doesn't go in. Maybe he was trying to predict the bird bomb in because that would have spelled certain death for emilZy as soon as he went in, but good patience by NRG's newest member in the support role.
I do think Rival, though, at the moment, they just need to hold out for level 12 for Callus more than anything else. I think we will see a second Phantom more than likely come out here, do you expect?
I would imagine so. I mean, Shell would be great up against what NRG have to offer. Shell's so good against Dodgy because it stops that stimmed horrible burns with that first ability, but I think that a second Phantom is probably a little bit too important here to Rival to forego it.
Well, we'll find out what happens with Callus then, but I think that's what Rival are currently playing around, waiting for this level 12.
Going back to Wlfy's Book of the Dead pickup, I was surprised that he didn't go for the Warlock staff because Warlocks is so good up against gods like Dodgy and even Janus that are trying to burst you very quickly.
Sure.
Unstable Vortex is going to chunk you very heavily if you don't go HP, but if you do go HP, it buys you an extra cooldown to not have to worry about quite as much. So I was surprised, but Book of Thoth and a Book of the Dead, Wlfy goes for that because that extra mana from the Book of Thoth gives him a bigger health shield from the Book of the Dead. So those two items synergize very well together, and now he's basically getting the effective health of something like a Warlock staff when he falls low.
Ring on iceicebaby, Sun's dropped down too. Woo. Big snipe hit from Yammyn though, and that's going to take out iceicebaby. Deathwalker and maniaKK make the rotation, but already a 4v5 with a nice little use of ultimates from NRG.
Man, Yammyn did all that work though. He hits him with the Unstable Vortex and the Through Space and Time. That did enough health to bring iceicebaby down, and his ultimate never even got a chance to be used.
maniaKK on zone duty, not so worried now that Nemesis is dead. Means that the ultimate won't be able to shred through the Sobek we've seen so many times before. NRG with a lovely positional play, take the Gold Fury and extend their lead.
Rival doesn't even try to sneak Wlfy in there for the steal with Through Space and Time. NRG just with that initial pick, and that's what's so potent about Odin. You don't need to lock in 5 people into a ring and kill 4 of them to really make it worth it. Even just getting that one member isolated, picked off, the Phantom was used by Deathwalker, it still didn't make enough of a difference to get iceicebaby out of there. And then NRG just utilizing the narrow jungle corridors perfectly. It's so hard to keep track of where Yammyn is and where the Unstable Vortexes are coming from and if you can juke them out. Yammyn does so much damage in that team fight that he basically zones away Rival by way of that damage. It makes maniaKK's job a lot easier on the Sobek.
And I guess with an Odin as well, in Season 5, the map changes mean there's more choke points available to try and set up this ring, but obviously the ring makes an artificial choke point anyway, which also causes more problems of rotation. So pinning people in place will be an option, and it'll still be an option with only that one Phantom, because Callus did invest in the shell, which we were talking about, very good against Dodgy.
Yeah, I do love the shell in this situation. I just wonder if it's going to come back to haunt Rival, but I think that the shell passive as well, with the upgraded version, good against Dodgy. Just shell itself is good against Odin Ring in its own right because it gives you some extra HP in that little area. You get a health shield that'll save you at least a little bit more, but there's enough follow-up from NRG, but just with the Yi Suns alone, but then you add in something like Lurking in the Waters, a shell's not going to save you from that double ult, triple ult sort of combination. So now Rival has to be very wary of their potential to get caged.
Ultimate's available for NRG again, so they're going to try and start the same sort of thing. Callus on the forefront this time. Wlfy hanging very far back, as you'd expect, just a little bit worried about getting engaged on by emilZy, who blink and rings in iceicebaby. He's the focus point again in the space and time again. Connects from Yammyn. emilitoo got very low there, though, and has to Aegis away back to safety. maniaKK will use the leftover from the space and time back to safety himself. Pyromancer, though, is still alive.
And Vote still nice and healthy, whereas emilitoo had to go back to base. So Rival, despite being the ones who lost a member, actually have the power play here for a little bit on this Pyro.
Gonna start with the Pyro as well, dropping very low, very quick. Don't forget that Glyph of Pain helps to increase the amount of damage, but the ball came through to try and shut down adapting and maniaK's aggression there for a second. Reset of the Pyromancer happens, but on the backside, there's still aggression going on as Deathwalker is zoning away the carries, and Yammyn's in trouble. Yammyn could die, but the age just keeps him alive, and the portal getting back to safety. Pyromancer goes down, taken by Rival.
Man, the Deathwalker handling 2 underneath that tower, so big for Rival, and this is what they needed to join up in these 5v5s. Look, maniaK's not taking any damage from anybody because Wlfy hasn't finished off any true penetration yet besides that his passive provides, and neither at Vote at that point. He was hitting maniaK for 60, so there was no chance for maniaK to die. It was just up to Deathwalker to make sure that the carries couldn't come in and be safe with maniaK being that frontline presence, and Deathwalker did a phenomenal job of that.
Well, Pyromancer does go down, but as does the tier 1 tower on the right-hand side for energy, which kind of answers back most of the gold that you get from a Pyromancer anyway. Just not the buff, you know? That's, I guess, the difference. You don't get that little bit of movement speed from the base.
And it's helpful, but certainly would rather have the map pressure, I believe, to bring down the tier 1 tower and eliminate a safe option for your opposition. So Rival probably not feeling particularly like they came out ahead in that situation, but again, it's just a matter of stalling it out, waiting until the late game, because this Nemesis Artemis Thoth combo, you saw how low emilitoo got in that engagement because of the Thoth ult. Now Wlfy's got to finish off Obsidian Shard. That's probably enough to find that kill next time around. So Rival, despite not really coming out ahead in that particular engagement, still sitting okay right now.
Exactly as you'd expect a game between 2 teams of this caliber as well. Back and forth encounter.
Yep.
Even though there's a lead, it's not much of a lead between the two, but it's definitely energies. And energy are the ones that are initiating these fights, choosing when they want to engage for the most part. And it's all been really focused on iceicebaby, shut down the Nemesis so he's not involved.
He's 3 levels down right now, and his bottom of the net worth charts really shut down thus far. But that's one of the beautiful things about Nemesis, at least at a competitive level, is you could be level 5 and your ultimate is still going to be impactful no matter if you're dying or not.
Kind of like Hombat's, kind of like Odin.
Exactly.
You know, those are gods.
So you're going to be able to make an impact even from 2-3 levels down like iceicebaby is right now. He's just got to make sure he's communicating the target that he's ulting, and the rest of Rival can get in there and try and finish up whatever iceicebaby starts.
Now we saw it around the Pyromancer too, but EmilZy did invest in the Blink as his relic, so now his range has doubled on how close he can get to a target. So Wlfy's going to sit even further back, technically, to have to make sure he stays away from the Blink Leap or the Leap Blink combination that could come through.
And that's a good answer to the blinks on iceicebaby and Vote, because like I said, you get an opportunity. If you're not in combat, you see Odin winding up for that bird bomb to get in range to cage you. You've got plenty of time at this level to turn around and blink away. I expect any SPL player to be able to make a reaction play like that, certainly of the caliber of iceicebaby and Vote. So now EmilZy has an opportunity to make it happen. But remember, Odin can't damage you while he's putting that cage down. There is an animation in there, so that still might buy enough time for Vote or iceicebaby to blink away.
Wlfy was started, and it brought Rival in for EmilZy to start having a little sniff around Rival's side of the map to see if any potential targets around. Notice that Nemesis is nowhere to be found this time. Like, nope, I am not getting involved just yet. And he's just forcing energy to keep resetting for now as they look for that Nemesis.
But energy doesn't know that iceicebaby wasn't there for the time being. Deathwalker and Kalas just being enough of a frontline nuisance that energy doesn't feel that comfortable trying to just pull this Gold Fury right away.
It's kind of like that thing of Rival adjusting mid-set to like, okay, what's their game plan? Cool. The game plan is get ice. They can't find ice, then what do they do next? maniaKK instead has to frontline, needs a bit of poke. emilitoo needs some damage from Deathwalker there as the Unstable Vortex only clipped the side. Actually, no, he didn't even clip Deathwalker there as the Soul Reaver still available. And again, the Unstable just off the mark.
Doesn't need to use it right away. It's actually got a better that Yammyn isn't using that
Soul
Reaver proc right away.
I've never seen Yammyn miss 3 in a row, but it's not a big thing as at the moment. EmilZy going to come back from the mid lane too. He went towards mid, and the group up of Rival looks good, and the ring is down. 3 members trapped inside, but a quick little phantom, and everybody walks away once more.
But Shell was also used there by Kalas. You only got to use one in that situation. Kalas using the Shell is actually a very big deal. EmilZy exchanges his Blink and Ultimate in exchange for 2 very long cooldown relics.
However, what you saw there was iceicebaby just walked in and got his Sentry Ward down on the Gold Fury too. So that relieved some of the pressure that Rival were feeling around there, because nobody on energy has a Sentry in their inventory right now. Forces a few people back to have to clear that out if they want to do it without being spotted.
But emilitoo's able to back and pick up the Aussie, so now he's got that double lifesteal, plenty of extra attack speed, and a little bit of pen as well.
Wlfy below half health. emilZy and Maniac trying to get involved. Space and time fired and juked out by Rival. They reset the Wlfy. emilZy and Maniac have to disengage once more, but Wlfy is starting to heal up, back to about 80% right now. emilitoo with a ricochet around the corner, and adapting goes in.
He's looking for Kalas. He's going to be able to pull him back in. No way for Kalas to get out of that. No, he detransforms. Great play. Didn't even think of that. And now it's energy on the Wlfy.
Wlfy leashed reset, but on the backside, adapting is looking at iceicebaby. He went to the backline looking for the cleanup kill, not going to find it. Pluck on boat is big, and the bird bomb rains down. Adapting gets credit for the kill, and NRG have taken 2 lives already.
Deathwalker has his ultimate, but no one's low enough for him to go in with it. Instead, strikes away. Kalas still on the run on the backside. Wlfy doing his best to get his support out of danger and has some decent damage and looks like he was able to do so. But that reset from Rival looked unintentional to me. Wlfy tries to secure it with his final judgment, and I don't know if it was Kalas transforming and taking himself out of combat with that reset the Wlfy or what it was, but in some way, Rival resets the Wlfy, but then adapting, blinking forward and going straight up into the powwow, not wasting any time, pulls in Kalas, which Kalas makes a great play that I wasn't considering. You can detransform, and even though you can take damage in that state, you can't be CC'd, so it prevents him from getting pulled in, but it stripped away the Magi's cloak from Vote, which meant that Vote was just waiting to be plucked by maniaKK. maniaKK finds that, and that's why I was surprised that Vote went for Blink in the first place, because there is so much CC on energy that you need to be able to get away from. It's the ricochet stun, the pluck, the powwow pull. Vote there, not having beads, ends up losing the Wlfy for Rival, but it probably should have been theirs in the first place because of the weird reset that they did.
Yeah, the reset will definitely have to be reviewed, and I think both teams will look back at that of exactly what ended up happening. I know space and time from Yammyn caused a couple of problems for them where they didn't want to get hit by that. They tried to play around it. In the end, well, it came up for NRG. 6,000 gold. Now, after the Pyromancer falls too, and 7,500 experience. And the experience definitely still matters, I feel, at this stage. A couple of members of Rival still not at that 20 mark, specifically iceicebaby.
And that's going to be important because that level 20 Nemesis ultimate is really, really a big power spike for her. That's why we talk about her as being excellent in the late game. Despite her early and mid game being just fine, it's because as you rank up that Divine Judgment, it becomes even more potent.
The Siegen will end up being a thing of future as well, because Rival do have Wlfy on that Thoth, who's still not died this game yet, but adapting. Wrapping around the back just now, and Yammyn was coming around the right-hand side too. Rival have to back away. Bit of a dance in mid lane now, as there's no real objectives to look for outside of the Fire Giant. I don't think anyone feels confident to do a dance just yet.
No, adapting still doesn't have his purification beads, and even with his cloak up, that's something that he's got to keep in mind, that he doesn't really want to blink into the teeth of Team Rival because of the potential for the blow up that they have. Plenty of stuns and CCs that he needs to get out of, and one Magi's cloak might not be enough to keep him safe enough in the midst of that team fight. All the defensive relics from Rival were back up again after that little Wlfy skirmish, so NRG, despite having the slight lead, getting a little bit bigger now, over 5,000, still not enough to just mash 5-on-5 in the middle of a lane.
This game as close as you could expect. One of these teams will be on the verge of elimination from coming to the LAN in spring here in Georgia. Atlanta, because it's all about who can come out on top. Basically, NRG's loss to Obey last week put this situation on the table where if they lose this game, NRG, they lose this set, I should say, then they're going to have to rely on results elsewhere, as this is their only game this week against the finalists at the World Championships.
Brutal, and you know that Obey, despite having not the best spring split so far, probably takes some joy in being the ones that are putting NRG on the brink now, just making sure that they aren't going to be nearly as comfortable.
But they also have games later this week, Obey, that could turn the table. Some big games for them too, which could end up mixing things up. It's definitely on paper though, Rival NRG, this is a big telling point here. It's not the end of the season for NRG just yet though, depending on how games go. If they lose this, but Rival at the moment, they're the ones in the back foot. They're the ones that are looking like game one's not going as they wanted.
Not quite yet, but this is typical kind of Rival play, right? They're willing to wait it out 30 minutes, just not really win a fight for the first 30 minutes, and then just all of a sudden turn it around and win one big team fight and win the game off of it. Rival has become one of those teams, kind of like NRG has been for a while now, where even if they aren't finding success in the earlier stages, they've got plenty of confidence in the late.
I think the one thing Rival have really adjusted to this split specifically, though, is their online performance overall. This is not the same Rival we saw last year. Granted, they were a mid to higher end team last year in terms of the Pro League play, But the difference is that at LAN, they really found another couple of gears. Now, though, they found those gears in the Pro League too.
But they were able to really start ratcheting up those gears throughout the season. It was their spring split. No one really knew how good they were. They come to the Gauntlet LAN, turn up on LAN, as you mentioned, and then end up winning that LAN and going to Smite Masters and having a pretty good performance there. Summer, they get a little bit better, but still not as good as at LAN. They come to DreamHack Valencia, have a great performance. Fall, same deal. But every time it was up and up and up and up, even during the online portions. No surprise that they look good so far here in Season 5. It was the next logical step for them.
Quick pause from EmilZy on Team NRG here, and we'll find out how long it's going to be in a moment's time. The big thing to really talk about now is late game. Late game Nemesis, Thoth, you've been mentioned a couple of times. Rivals still have it in them to come back into it with one good team fight.
Without a doubt. And NRG did a great job in that last Gold Fury pool of playing around the way that Rival has built their relic situation. It was emilZy blinking in, getting the Phantom, getting the shell as well from Kalas, and then just backing up. And NRG don't engage for the next 60 seconds or so, but they keep Rival engaged. They make sure that Rival is still hanging around, still grouped up, and then emilZy blinks in and finds another cage right onto iceicebaby. You know, it wasn't a blink, I don't think, actually, but Ice just got caged by that Gold Fury. So baiting out that Phantom is going to be really critical here. emilZy has to make sure that his team's on the same page as him, that initial cage, don't even try and follow up on it because you know they're going to have to Phantom.
Well, don't be surprised if you're an NRG fan too to see them maybe look for some of their alternate strategies in terms of split pushing. They are very good at picking the map apart most of the time too. We've seen it so far this year, and it's going to be important for them maybe with how these dances are beginning now, where we're just kind of sat watching each other, that we see a bit more of energy just starting to swing the map around in their favor.
It's true, and Yammyn could do it on the Janus. He could even, one of the strategies that we don't see a lot of that I'm kind of surprised is you could send your Hunter over to the dual lane or wherever, and then through space and time them to get there, to use those portals to come back into the fight. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what NRG goes for, but there is a lot of 1v1 potential on Rival's draft. Nemesis can 1v1 anyone.
Well, there's a fight in the mid lane already. The ring is down, and emilZy didn't manage to get the damage off he wanted to. His space and time was avoided by the Aegis coming out there of Wlfy. And it's emilZy that's just too far forward. The execute is good from Deathwalker, but Wlfy on the backside has adapting wrapped to the back of his head, and there was nothing he could do to escape it after his Aegis was down.
Deathwalker can't continue the chase even with that ultimate ready to go. So it's 1 for 1, but mid for support at 32 minutes.
I'll take it.
Odin for Thoth at 32 minutes.
With Fire Giant on the table?
Yes, certainly in NRG's favor.
Well, let's see what they can do with this now. All ultimates pretty much expended outside of adaptings. Remember that. Most of the relics, however, on Rival are down. Ice does have his beads, and that could be really critical here against the Powwow of adapting, who is tanking up the Fire Giant. It's getting low. NRG get the Fire Giant, but my oh my, that was too close for comfort.
Very close. Ice in some trouble, has to use the beads, and the
Got him.
clap will clean it up. 10 now for NRG as they walk away victorious with the Fire Giant pull there. And that's all adapting in that team fight. When you can tell your assassin, hey, go kill their best late game character. Don't even use your ultimate. Or beads, for that matter. Just go kill that guy, and then they get to do that, you're going to win that team fight almost every time. Adapting just takes the 1v1 and wins it.
A lot of that, though, was set up by Yammyn and emilZy, forcing the Aegis earlier on by trapping him in the ring more than anything else.
Sure.
Which allows adapting to clean up crew, you know?
Yeah.
He's just the sweeper after the fact.
It's what adapting has made his name from. That's kind of his identity for a long, long time, that dude who comes in at the perfect time in the backside and wins the fight.
I do feel like in the early game, adapting definitely is a leader, an initiator, and the shot caller. But when it comes to the team fight stage and the later stages, he is the murderer. He is the one that's like, oh, it looks like we're losing this fight. Well, luckily they used all their relics, and now I can just go in and get 2 kills.
Exactly. Will adapting end up with the top damage in a lot of his games? Of course. But a lot of it is because he gets big leads because of how well his team plays around him. He's able to come in and play that cleanup crew role. And there has never been a better janitor than adapting. He cleans fights up better than anyone ever has, and it isn't close. It really isn't.
Absolute opportunist, and that's what you want. I mean, the term assassin kind of gives you that, right? Assassins are there to find the kill. You don't necessarily want to trade your life if you can help it.
No.
Not the game plan whatsoever. Now with the Fire Giant, though, NRG going to start to group up on the left-hand side. Only tier 2 towers remain for Rival here. No tier 1s down just yet, even though a couple of energies are on the last legs, and iceicebaby will get 1. just to get a little bit of gold, but he's got to get back to defend this Phoenix because it doesn't look like NRG are going to stop here.
Well, NRG should push right now
Here we
because
go.
Relics are down still from Rival. Blink forward from emilZy.
ball.
Vote locked in that cage, but adapting's really low, but Yammyn just erased his vote.
Space and time did a lot of work. Adapting is very low. Will pull Deathwalker in, but may have difficulty escaping. He jumped to Wlfy and found the kill. Won't be able to get away from the execute out from Deathwalker, however. That's 12-5 now on the scoreboard. Phoenix at half health. Minions, new wave coming through. The tanks, very healthy, as is the carries. Just adapting off the map.
Kalas gets plucked back in.
that's
Portal waiting for him. Kalas' shell may have been enough, but emilZy's bird bomb was there. Emil still had the Suns. Looks like NRG's taking game one.
Well, it could be right now. Deathwalker, iceicebaby, the only two here to defend. Yammyn doing as much as he can to try and stop this bird bomb comes through. But the Titan's still healthy right now. Yammyn getting focused by iceice, and Yammyn could fall down. Meanwhile, emilitoo is focusing on getting himself a kill. And now the Titan will be focused. Game one, NRG.
Man, it's so calculated from NRG. And for me, it just comes back to the draft. I thought NRG's draft was flawless. It felt like Rival played right into their hands. NRG was ready for everything that Rival was going to pick, and then they executed on top of it. Now, Rival did a good job of stemming the bleeding, got back into it a little bit, but the big key for me coming into this game was can Deathwalker being the dude and get really far ahead of maniaKK, and it just didn't happen. iceicebaby was set too far behind by consecutive cages. He was 3 levels down, and by that point, you can't try and gank your solo lane. You've got to try and farm up and make sure that you're in an okay spot, and that leaves maniaKK free to free farm, and he was able to make a great impact in the late game.
Who do you guys at home think was MVP? Vote in chat now as we're about to toss it over to the desk. The big thing for me is picks and bans at this level. They're so important. Just one small little difference could be the difference between a win and a loss. I do think that Odin pick was a big insurmountable difference between these two.
Completely agree. And Yammyn played so well, specifically in the early game, because in that early game, you don't have a ton of follow-up into the Odin cage. Ultimate will do a lot, but the through space and time isn't follow-up to Odin cage. That's a line shot that Yammyn's got to hit. You got plenty of area to juke that out, and Yammyn was still perfectly accurate in the early stages. He did all the damage NRG needed in the early.
Well, that's game one. Still a best of 3. Let's head over to the desk to break that one down.
Oh, thank you, Hindu and Aggro. And watching these guys come out to perform really strong stuff. I think Aggro hit the nail on the head when he focused on the solo lane.
A little bit.
Deathwalker couldn't get ahead, so...
I mean, that's part of it, but I think, honestly, it was just Yammyn on fire. And if he's not MVP, I'm about to lose my mind here because the game was so even up until the point when Yammyn hit a clutch double hit with the through space and time around that 18.5-minute mark, which enabled NRG to grab the first goal, Fury, start building a little bit of a lead, and then later, emilZy's ultimates really came online.
Yeah, watching these guys come out was really important. Like you said, the Odin cage, not only the Thoth, we focused on Thoth during picks and bans, but almost everybody else was vulnerable to that cage, watching it come out, and only body that could jump out really was Fafnir. So Kalas was good, but everybody else kind of just locked up. That was really devastating for Rival.
That's true. And, you know, it is a best of 3 set here. So Rival, they managed to win the first one in the previous week, but unfortunately here, they couldn't bring it in the first game.
Well, the MVP, totally. You ready to lose it? Because it's adapting. He's going to be your most valuable player here for game number 1, 4, 2, and 6 with about 12,500 damage.
I mean, did the people not see Yammyn just obliterate vote at the end of the game there during that Phoenix siege? Man, junglers get too much spotlight. It's not even fair to the mid laners even.
You know, like I said, this is a jungler-driven league. I think that jungle is one of the more important roles on the map, but Tully, I don't disagree. I think Yammyn was the guy this game.
You know what? Junglers, they win games, but mid laners, they win championships. Season 1, MLC.
Yep.
Season 2, Yammyn.
Yep.
Season 4.
Vanunu.
There you go.
All right. What about season 3 there, Anatoly?
We're going to talk about season 3.
What about season 3 there, Anatoly?
Well, it was a hunter. It wasn't a jungler, so.
And you know what? What was the character that he was playing the most?
Kronos.
Yeah, so
There's that.